So who's running the show around here, if you don't mind my asking? Hey friends, it's Pastor Mike from Fellowship Church. Always love to connect with you midweek. Hope you're staying warm as we're into this winter weather now. Here's that question for you again. Just who's running the show around here? I've got a thought for you today. I want to talk a little bit about peace. Peace is something that we bring up when we get to the Advent season. This coming Sunday will be the Sunday when we celebrate the peace of Christ. Of course, in the church, when we talk about peace, we're always talking about God's peace, not some understanding of the world's peace. We use words like shalom, that is the Hebrew word for peace. When we talk about peace in the church, we don't say that peace is a complete absence of conflict, like all of your troubles just disappear. But we say that when we have the peace of God or the peace of Christ, well, it gives us a bit of a different perspective. Because the peace of God reminds us that God is still on the throne, even during difficult, challenging seasons of life. God has not put a vacant sign on the throne. He did not leave and take off on vacation. God is still in charge of all things. That recognition helps us to understand that, well, we can have peace when we face some challenges. But here's my question for you again. Who's running the show around here? Because when God gives us His peace, God doesn't say, how about if we give you just a little bit of a smidgen? A pinch here, a little dollop back and forth. I'll take the edge off a bit. You deal with all the rest of it. That is not how God understands peace. There is a passage in the Bible, in the New Testament. It's in the book of Colossians 3:15, I think. And it simply says, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Now that's a different way of talking about peace, because when we talk about the peace of Christ ruling in our hearts, we have to ask the question, well, who's in charge around here? And who's running the show? That word rule doesn't mean as much to us as it did to them back then. They knew what a ruler was. A ruler was in complete control over an area. So here's what God is saying. He says, I'm going to give to you my peace. I want that peace to be something that overtakes your life. I'm not giving you just a smidgen or a pinch or a dollop. I'm not trying to just take the edge off. Instead, I want to give you my peace, and I want that peace to be in complete charge of your life. That peace will be on the throne in your life. That peace will dictate the way that you face life, the way that you face difficulties and challenges and conflict. Let that peace of Christ rule in your hearts so that everything in your life takes place under the umbrella of my peace. Now, friends, I have a question for you. When you live out your life in some maybe challenging or difficult times, whatever that might look like, whether the challenge comes from inside of you or from the world around you, when you live out your life in some challenging times, are you trying to live with just a smidgen or a pinch of God's peace? Or does God's peace rule in your life? Is God's peace truly on the throne? And since God's peace is on the throne, is God's peace dictating the way that you live your life, the way that you see things, the way you understand things, the way you respond to challenges and difficulties? God says, I want my peace to rule over everything in your hearts. Again, Colossians 3:15, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. And friends, when the peace of Christ is ruling, it'll change the way you think, it'll change the way you function, it'll change the way you live. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you're starting to get into the Christmas spirit a bit. And friends, of course, may the peace of Christ rule in your hearts this Advent season. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.